Hello, my name is Harzing and I'm a professor, research mentor and staff development lead at Middlesex University London. Today I will be talking about how to create a supportive, collaborative and inclusive research culture. This presentation is made up of 4 distinct parts. First, as many of the audience work at post-92 institutions like me, I will talk a little bit about the specific challenges and opportunities that these kind of institutions, as well as other institutions that are not part of the research elite, face. Then I will talk about some options on how to create a leadership structure for building a collaborative and inclusive research culture. Next, I will spend a significant chunk of this presentation outlining the program of research support we have designed at Middlesex University, and I hope this will provide a useful source of comparison with your own institution. And in the discussion part, I would very much like to learn about the initiatives that you have deployed, as I think we can all learn from other institutions. And then finally, especially for those of you who are in institutions that are quite new to building up a research culture or who are new in their role as research dean, I will provide some tips on where to start in the first years, and I will also highlight some challenges that I have experienced personally. Okay, first up, the challenges and opportunities for post-92 universities, but also other universities that are not part of the research elite. Improving the research culture can be important for any university. However, it's probably even more important for universities that are not part of the country's elite research-intensive universities. In the UK, there's a large group of universities that are former polytechnical institutions. This means that traditionally they focus on teaching more practical skills, and leaders and lecturers in these universities didn't really engage with much research in the past. However, 30 years ago they all became universities, and that's why as a group they're often called post-92. I don't really like this label much, but you will see it used a lot. Since then, however, many of these universities, including Middlesex University, have dramatically improved their research performance. And this is the case even if this research performance is not always as widely spread across staff as it is in the traditional research-intensive universities. And even if their research cultures are still emerging rather than being very well established. At the same time, they have maintained their emphasis on caring for students and external engagement with stakeholders. So in fact, we could call them triple intensives, focusing on research, teaching and external engagement equally. Now, part of the problem in triple intensive universities wanting to improve their research performance is that investment in research is not always part of the institution's tradition, and staff does have access to fewer resources. But even that is changing in some of the post-92s. However, what I see as the biggest problem for triple intensives is their lack of a strong research reputation. Even if they are performing well on objective measures such as publications, citations and funding, their external reputation often lags behind their objective performance. And this can create a vicious cycle, as their lack of reputation might make it harder to compete with elite institutions for scarce resources, such as, for instance, research funding, position on research councils, or other prestigious positions in the higher education sector. And you can nurture and develop research cultures into strong, supportive and inclusive cultures, as we've done at Middlesex University. You can even throw money at initiatives. However, changing an institution's reputation is a long and very difficult process, especially in a higher education system that is as stratified as the UK system. To give you an example of this discrepancy between objective and subjective reputation, let's look at the ranking of Middlesex University in the field of business and economics on 2 of the international research rankings, 2 rankings that include both metrics and reputation components. These reputation components, incidentally, are based on surveys among academics. In the 2022 US News ranking, there are 39 universities in the UK that are ranked in business and economics. Middlesex ranks 9th in terms of citation metrics, but only 33 in terms of reputation. This is the second biggest gap in the UK. In the QS ranking, Middlesex ranks identically to the University of Melbourne, which incidentally was my former employer, on citation metrics, but there is a vast difference in their reputation scores. And as these reputation scores count for 80% in the QS ranking and the metrics for only 20%, Melbourne ranks 26 overall and Middlesex ranks between 351 and 400. So building research reputation in addition to research performance is a challenge for non-elites. However, this is a topic in itself, and this presentation really focuses on building supportive, collaborative and inclusive research cultures. I do have another presentation on building your research profile, reputation and impact, and that is available on my YouTube channel if you're interested. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. I think many non-elite institutions might have some advantages over elite institutions in building collaborative and inclusive research cultures. First of all, they might have a bit more flexibility in job crafting. Whenever I suggested deviating just a tiny little bit from the standard task portfolio at elite institutions to focus on areas of strength, I was told, no, we can't do this because otherwise everyone would want this. Non-elite institutions might be a bit more willing to acknowledge that different colleagues simply have different skill sets. And non-elites typically make less use of tenure tracks and give academics permanent jobs after only a short trial period. And this generally leads to more commitment to the institution. Secure employment also often leads to more collegiality because staff are not in competition with each other for a limited number of jobs. I also find most staff are truly committed to social mobility for students and for using their research to make a real difference for those less fortunate in society. Given that many staff haven't had the advantage of a top-notch doctoral education, they also tend to be more appreciative of developmental activities. At the elite institutions where I've worked, I've often tried to introduce some staff development, but colleagues often didn't think they could learn much from each other, or maybe they did, but they just didn't want to admit it.